It's pretty safe to say Obi-Wan Kenobi ended with a bang. The show's finale gave fans pretty much everything they wanted, but that doesn't mean it's time to stop obsessing over the series. There are still tons of secrets to uncover from each episode. For example, you might be wondering what the Jedi Tomb from episode 4 was meant to be. It's actually a pretty long story, so without further ado, let's get into it. First up, inside Fortress Inquisitorius. The Star Wars franchise has been on a growth spurt ever since Disney bought the rights from George Lucas. The overarching story is spread across dozens of movies, TV shows, video games, and books, and new stories keep coming out. With that much content rolling in every year, the lore was bound to get a little crazy, and you'll probably understand what we mean after we go over the origins of the Jedi Tomb. It's probably been a while since you saw the 4th episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but you'll definitely remember this. Obi-Wan and Tala made a pretty shocking discovery after infiltrating Fortress Inquisitorius. They had to sneak into the stronghold to rescue Leia, but they weren't planning on finding a massive tomb designed to store the remains of fallen Jedi. Each of the bodies was preserved in an orange pod, deep inside the depths of the underwater fortress. Obi-Wan even found a pod with a Jedi youngling inside of it, which was definitely one of the grimmest moments from the show. Fans who aren't familiar with the wider Star Wars lore were a little confused by the tomb. Even though the episode sort of hinted at what the tomb was meant for, we didn't really get any concrete answers. This is one way Disney keeps you hooked on its franchises. It leaves little Easter eggs and references like this one to pull you into watching other content they produced. Luckily for you, we're here to help explain the connections. Here's what the Jedi Tombs are all about. Next we have The Secrets of the Tomb. The origins of the Jedi Tomb can actually be found in a mega popular video game. You probably heard of it too. It's called Jedi Fallen Order, and it actually introduced Fortress Inquisitorius to fans. You probably know from Obi-Wan Kenobi that all Inquisitors are former Jedi, but here's what you might not know. The fortress is where the Empire took all captured Jedi to break them down and turn them into Inquisitors. That backstory is actually laid out in the game, which features a character who escaped from the fortress. Apparently, the Empire has tortured a ton of Jedi in that place. It's enough to make anyone shiver. So here's the most obvious explanation for the existence of the Jedi Tomb. There were probably tons of Jedi who died at the hands of the Empire before turning to the dark side, and it's possible that the remaining Inquisitors keep their bodies as trophies. That's pretty dark, but fans have been analyzing clues about the fortress from different pieces of Star Wars lore, and they've got a theory about the Jedi Tomb that's even more disturbing. Here's what they've gathered so far. So, the franchise has always said that the Force is something that connects the universe together, right? The Jedi are able to tap into that Force, and this theory about the purpose of the Jedi Tomb is actually related to that. The Force connects different Jedi together, allowing them to sense each other's presence across vast distances. And the animated series Star Wars Rebels showed us that a Jedi doesn't necessarily have to be alive to use the Force in that way. And now, for the Empire's plan. In Season 1 of Rebels, a Jedi character named Kanan Jarrus was able to sense the Force presence of Jedi Master Luminara Unduli in prison on Stygian Prime. The Force led him to her cell, but it was too late. Once they were inside, the characters realized that Luminara was already dead and that they had walked straight into a trap. That was one of the first times we saw the Empire using the body of a fallen Jedi to lure other Jedi into their bases. And it's given fans a whole new perspective on the Jedi Tomb from Obi-Wan. That's right, fans think the Empire was using the Jedi Tomb to draw even more Jedi to Fortress Inquisitorius. And all things considered, it's a pretty solid theory. The Grand Inquisitor, played by Rupert Friend in Obi-Wan Kenobi, actually made his first appearance as an animated villain in Rebels, and he was the one who used Luminara's body to trap the heroes of that show. Seeing as the character is in charge of Fortress Inquisitorius, it's not a stretch to believe that the tomb was being used as a trap to lure the Jedi. That actually gives a whole new meaning to his line from the very first episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi: the Jedi hunt themselves. It looks like showrunner Joby Harold knew what he was doing from the very start. And to be honest, it's pretty exciting to see characters and locations from different Star Wars stories crossing over like this. It really makes it feel like we're witnessing a connected universe, where characters aren't just limited to one show. Plus, it always feels good when you recognize all those Easter eggs. So, here's what's next for Obi-Wan. Lucasfilm might have said that Obi-Wan Kenobi was just a miniseries, but it's been so successful that they might be reconsidering that. It's the most watched Disney Plus original in franchise history, and also drew the biggest premiere of any show set in the Star Wars universe with a staggering 2.14 million viewers. That's pretty insane, and considering how well the show bridge the gap between the prequels and the original trilogy, we're not surprised. We've even gotten reports that Disney is considering another season, and all the actors have said they'd love to return to their roles. We'll probably hear more about the future of the series soon, and that's great news for fans. Now, in other news, fans upset after Disney Plus shares first look of upcoming series. A sequel series to Tim Allen's The Santa Claus film franchise titled Santa Clauses is set to launch on Disney Plus in the coming months. Ahead of its release, the streaming service surprised fans by releasing a picture featuring Tim Allen and the rest of the cast. Unfortunately for Disney, though, the cast photo ruffled quite a few feathers. The image shows Tim Allen as Scott Calvin, aka Santa Claus, and confirms that Elizabeth Mitchell is returning to play Mrs. Claus. We also see Elizabeth Allen Dick and Austin Kane as the couple's on-screen children, but one notable character was missing, and it made a bunch of fans real mad. That's right, fan favorite character Bernard was nowhere to be seen. The elf worked as Santa's assistant in prior installments and was a big part of what made the Santa Claus and its sequels so good. He wasn't in Santa Claus 3: Escape Clause, and that film really missed him. That's why fans were hoping to see the character return. It looks like that's not going to happen though. Bernard probably isn't returning because the actor who played him, David Krumholtz, is now 44. That's a little old to play an elf, and Krumholtz probably has other roles to keep him occupied. We're pretty sad to see him go though. Next, Gwendolyn Christie surprised by Game of Thrones fans. If you somehow haven't heard the news, allow us to fill you in. There's a Game of Thrones sequel series in development, and it's going to follow Jon Snow on his adventures on the other side of the wall. The news has excited a ton of fans who can't wait to see faces from the show again. That includes iconic characters like Brienne of Tarth, and we just heard what Gwendolyn Christie thinks of returning to the role. Get this, the fans' hype levels have actually surprised Christie, who said in an interview that she wasn't expecting to learn that people are still invested in the Game of Thrones universe. The actress also said that she loved playing Brienne and would always be grateful for the opportunity to return to HBO's hit fantasy franchise. Considering how poorly Game of Thrones wrapped up its final season, fans are pretty cautious about all the sequel shows in development. There are 4 on the way, and the Jon Snow series is just one of them. Let's hope HBO doesn't rush things this time. Finally, Harley Quinn Season 3 arriving soon. We've finally gotten confirmation that Season 3 of the Harley Quinn show is coming out this July. The popular animated series stars Kaylee Cuoco as the one and only Dr. Harleen, and it looks like fans are in for an awesome bunch of episodes. Season 3 picks up right where the last one left off, with Commissioner Gordon hot on the heels of Harley and Poison Ivy. The new episodes will also feature many more DC characters, with fan favorites like Nightwing and Amanda Waller confirmed. What's more, it looks like James Gunn, the director of 2021's The Suicide Squad, will be making an animated appearance on the show. That's definitely going to be a really meta cameo, and it's just another reason to get hyped. Honestly, we can't wait to see Harley on the small screen again. That's a wrap for this video. Did you guess what the Jedi Tomb was being used for? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.